Somehow I've magically gotten dressed, even though it's a Saturday, and I decided to put on jeans. What's going on? In all transparency, I wanted to get my thumbnail photographed first, and that prompted me to get dressed and put on pants, but we love YouTube holding me accountable to doing things that I most likely would not be doing. But hello friends, welcome to a winter bookish vlog. I finally feel like I have enough energy to film after the holidays and the new year and busting out 2 videos kind of within the same time frame, and I didn't plan to film today. I've been trying to take it easy this whole month, but I will tell you what prompted all of this. PMS has kicked in, my period is on its way, and when PMS comes in, I tend to not sleep very well, or I can't sleep through the night in one full sweep. So I woke up this morning at 3:40 a.m. with racing thoughts about work and everything going on. And since it's the new year and I am having new intentions, new ways of addressing things, I decided to hop on Libby and find a book. So we're gonna talk about my January TBR, or just like winter books, throughout this video, and try and get some reading done as well, and some fun stuff in between. So if that sounds fun, you're in the right place. Grab a cozy, warm beverage if it's winter where you are. It is the thick of winter here in southeastern Pennsylvania. It even snowed a little bit overnight. Like when I woke up at 3:40 a.m. and I checked my weather app, it said it was snowing. And there is some snow on my car, as you guys saw. So thick of winter, all I want to do is cozy up inside with my blanket, in sweaters, with a warm beverage, and read. So currently I am reading something that I would never, probably never pick out for myself ever, but George got this for me for Christmas. It is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. It is book 1 of the Nightborn duet. For humans and vampires, the rules of survival are the same. Never trust, never yield, and always, always guard your heart. So we have a romantasy. I am entering my full-on romantasy era this year because you guys know I've had a rocky start to the genre and I want to give it a chance. And I read A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen last year after reading Fourth Wing and not enjoying it at all, and that got me excited about the genre and had hope. It gave me hope that I might like some books in the genre. So this year I really want to explore the genre a bit and read more and just kind of be informed about the different types of books that people are loving and hating, and just see where my opinion falls. So that's kind of like one of my reading intentions, or like sub goals this year, is just to explore that genre and just explore genres that I usually wouldn't entertain. So I say this is a book that I normally wouldn't gravitate towards, because you guys know I love my historical fictions and historical fantasies. I am all there for that. And this is a fantasy, but it's not historical by any means. It is more of, I guess, a vampire, paranormal, and I would even say urban fantasy, just from how much I've read so far. We're not in the woods. We are in some district. There's multiple districts, there's vampires, there's humans, there's demons, there's all those fun supernatural things that I enjoy, but I think I enjoy them more in a historical context, hence why I love A Discovery of Witches and the Old Souls trilogy, and I just love Deborah Harkness's writing. That's why I want to expand, see what I like, what I don't like, and I'm less than halfway through this, and it's been a struggle to kind of continue reading it. I am just bored. I was telling George this morning, you know, it's just boring, and I'm gonna try and get through it. I really want to get through it just to finish the story, but it's been kind of hard to focus on these past few days. But like when I started reading it, I was very engaged. I think now that we're this far in, I'm just like waiting for certain things to happen. I think it's also hard, like dialogue there's a lot of different things that I'm gonna have to like compile in my head as I try to finish this, but I think mainly it's just that it's the setting, it's partially the characters too, the dialogue, the writing style, and did I say setting? I think I already said that. But yeah, there's a lot of things working against what I like in a book in this, but it has good reviews, like great reviews, high ratings. People love it. People have gotten tattoos from it. So I don't know. I don't know. That's why I want to like see where I land, and then I can have my own opinion and go with that. So this is what I'm currently reading right now and trying to read this weekend and finish this weekend. And this is where we land on my middle of the night plot twist of sorts. I decided when I could not sleep, when I woke up in the middle of the night, that I want to try and read more ebooks or have like an ebook on hand, so when I'm awake and I can't fall back asleep, I can just read. There have been instances where I've woken up and I've listened to audiobooks and they've helped me fall back asleep, but in this case I'm like, let's like also have ebooks so I can just grab my phone when I'm in bed, and like definitely helped me stop thinking about all the other thoughts that were going on through my head and I could just focus on the story. So, plot twist friends, I decided to dive into the world of Sarah J. Maas, and I started reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, book 1 of whatever series this is. I'm literally on chapter 3. I read a chapter last night and then I think I fell asleep or decided to stop reading in the middle of chapter 2. And I finished chapter 2 this morning, and that's where we're at. So I'm on chapter 3. And this is kind of my rebellion against my vampire urban fantasy book. I just want to see like if my attention is more satiated with this book versus the other one. So I'm kind of doing a social self-experiment on myself as well. Traditionally, I've always been so stubborn when it comes to like books. Like I just want to read one book because I know if I don't read just that one book and stick with it, I will not finish it. And that's partly why I don't like to DNF books or start 2 books at once. And even like over the holidays, I was reading 2 holiday books at once and severely neglected another, like the other book that I was reading of the 2, and didn't finish it until like New Year's Day, which is fine and dandy and all of that, but just not how I don't know, it just felt icky to me. The spirit of New Year goals and intentions, we're trying this out. I also know the book is more of a historical like fantasy lens, and the book opens up with our main character in the woods, you know, hunting for food, and I'm just like, yes, I love that. So I don't know, we'll see how this weekend goes between these 2. You guys will know. So those are my 2 books that I'm currently reading right now, and I guess that would be part of my January TBR. I picked 4 books to read this month. I already finished one, which, guys, I ended up getting this a 5 out of 5 stars. This was so good. It is The Road of Bones by Demi, book 1 of the Ashen series, and I can't recommend this enough. It's a Viking fantasy, it's a Viking romantasy, and I loved it so much. Like I devoured this in like 5 days. I think my attention was like just glued to it. I read it throughout the week normally when I would be watching like YouTube or like just trying to like chill on the couch. Like I was invested in the characters and in the story and just the writing and the setting. It just was executed so well in terms of keeping me engaged and wanting to know more. And I'm excited that book 2 is being released at the beginning of February, and I'm gonna be immediately running to the store to get that and reading that next. Interesting backstory. I guess Demi Winters self-published this last year, or maybe the year before, I forget. And it did so well, I guess, like maybe on TikTok. TikTok has a hand in things these days. It just did so well that she was picked up by like another kind of agency, like a bigger one, and they wanted to re-release the books with new covers, and Book of the Month picked it up, and this was my pick for whatever month this was. Does it say November? Once I got it, I had December and had to read all my holiday books, so I was immediately excited to start reading this on New Year's Day, and I devoured it and love it so much. In this epic and immersive Viking-inspired romantic fantasy, a woman fleeing a ruthless assassin accidentally joins forces with a group of mercenaries and must use all her cunning to escape with her life and her heart intact. So, our main character gets into some trouble and she is on the run, and she joins a group of mercenaries, or just a group of like Vikings who are like, their job is to go on missions and kill people, and she somehow joins with them because she's trying to get to a specific location. And we of course have a little map explaining our world. She's trying to get to Copa, which is north of where she is at, and along the way they're dealing with weird things in the woods. There's definitely supernatural things in here beyond just the historical like fantasy side of things. It's an enemies to lovers, slow burn, there are twists, the ending. I'm just excited to read the second book. We are starting off 2025 with a very high bar for my books and romantasy in general, which is why I'm so disappointed, or I guess less excited about The Serpent and the Wings of Night, just because it is a much of a downgrade from The Road of Bones. But alas, you know, it is what it is. Two other books that I'm planning to read next, or at least some point in January into February, is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen, and this is book one of, I guess, the Bridge Kingdom series. Is that just what the series is called? So she's the same author as A Fate Inked in Blood, which is what I read last year and loved that book. So this was like a re-release, I guess, on paperback because it sold out when it got really popular, sold out, and then you couldn't find like any physical copies of it in the old cover style before. So I had to wait a long time for this to get released, which was in the fall time. So this is another book that's been queued up on my TBR pile to read. The iconic Bridge Kingdom series begins, a sweeping, sizzling fantasy romance filled with political intrigue and passionate love. A warrior princess trained in isolation, Lara is driven by two certainties. The first is that King Aaron of the Bridge Kingdom is her enemy, and the second is that she'll be the one to bring him to his knees. The only route through a storm-ravaged world, the Bridge Kingdom of Ithacana enriches itself and deprives its rivals, including Lara's homeland. So when she's sent there as a bride under the guise of peace, Lara is prepared to do whatever it takes to fracture its impenetrable defenses and the defenses of its king. Yet as she infiltrates her new home and gains a deeper understanding of the war to possess the bridge, Lara begins to question whether she's the hero or the villain. As her feelings for her husband transform from frosty hostility to fierce passion, Lara must choose which kingdom she'll save and which she'll destroy. I have heard this is another slow burn. You guys, I love slow burn. Like, I just want them to slow burn me to the point where I'm just like begging for the romance to kick in, and that happened with The Road of Bones for sure, but it was done, like the timing was just perfect, I felt like. This one, it's definitely like slow and I'm just like, hello, like do something. And that might also be why I'm like bored with it. So I don't know, we shall see how that goes. And my fourth book that I want to read this month is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, book 2 of the, what is this called? Book 2 of the Shepherd King series, and I read One Dark Window, which was book 1 in the fall time, and I enjoyed it. It was definitely engaging, and I like read it in like 2 or 3 days, but it wasn't like amazing. It definitely felt more of like a new adult or like young adult writing style, and that's where it kind of fell short for me. But I really enjoyed the premise and the dark world that it's set in, and how there are tarot card elements wrapped up in this world that the author has conjured. So the saving grace for the first book was the ending. It really like made me enjoy it much more. Like, it was worth all the other stuff to get to that point, and left us on quite a bit of a cliffhanger. So I'm really excited to start reading the next book to see just what happens. And I think it's just a duology. I forget if this has more books in the series or not, but this might be our concluding story. In the dark, spellbinding sequel to One Dark Window, Elspeth must confront the weight of her actions as she and Raven embark on a perilous quest to save the kingdom. So yes, friends, you could say I'm in my romantasy era, and I am not leaving it anytime soon.
Carissa had awoken at dawn to chop wood. Probably because she knew I'd be selling the hides at the market today and would go...
I've popped out, friends, for a very quick jaunt to the local used bookstore on a quest to find a copy of A Court of Thorns and Roses, now that I'm in my hyperfixation of this new book that I started reading. So we'll see. I'm not sure if they'll have it, but thought I'd pop over and get out of the house a little bit since I'm like, have that kind of energy, frantic energy. I need to get out and do stuff, and we're doing it. So let's go have a browse, see what we can find, and then I'll head home. That's okay. Okay, I did not foresee us doing a book haul in this video, but alas, here we are. Here we are, friends. So I found one book at the first bookstore I went to, and they didn't have A Court of Thorns and Roses, and at that point I was like, all right, I'm already out. Let me go to this other used bookstore that I like to go to a lot. And there, I found things there, friend. So let's have a little cheeky used book haul, shall we? In order by acquisition, okay? So the first book I found was in the YA section, Legendborn by Tracy, Deonn. I've heard lots of great things about this book. I've just never felt called to read it, mainly because it is YA, and I historically don't really like YA, or I'm very selective with the type of YA that I, one, read, and two, enjoy. But one of my other intentions this year is to lean into reading more YA, or trying to find YA authors or books or series that I enjoy, and we're starting with Legendborn, friends. Let me know if you've read this. I've only heard bits and bobs about it, but it seems to be about a 16-year-old girl named Bree Matthews, and her mother dies in an accident, and she ends up at a academy, a school. Dun dun dun. And of course this is fantasy, so I'm sure there are a lot of fun things going on in this book. I'm definitely gonna read this next month in February for Black History Month. I also want to read more authors of color, more diverse authors this year as another one of my intentions, just because it's important to do that. Okay, then we got to the second used bookstore, and I immediately saw what we were looking for. It was in the book talk section, of course, and we have it, friends. We have it. The condition is not the best. I did find, I mean, you can find this used anywhere, on like Thrift Books, Better World Books, Pango Book, and I was just like, let me just get it. I'm already here. I love this bookstore. I want to support them. I also have like a rewards program situation, so I knew that I probably would have some money within the system to spend, so we just grabbed it. I also am super glad I grabbed it, because then a bunch of like people started coming in, and I just didn't want to chance it. Okay, but we found it. Mission accomplished. Then I picked up One by One by Ruth Ware. I've read this book before. I did a reading vlog on this very early on in my channel days, probably like 2021. I read that on ebook and I've always wanted to get a hard copy. I also want to build my Ruth Ware collection of hardcovers, so whenever I see a nice used hardcover book of hers when I'm out and about, I will grab it to slowly build my collection, and I am so happy to find this. This is actually my favorite book by Ruth Ware because it just was so fun when I read it, and lots of twists and turns, really engaging. It takes place at a ski resort. Perfect for winter. Also, if you're looking for more of a thriller mystery to read during this winter time, I love it. I love it. I also bought a copy of this for my sister-in-law for Christmas because, hello, if I'm gonna recommend a thriller, Ruth Ware is gonna be one of them. Next up, I was in the staff pick sections and decided to get The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang. I've been wanting to read this for many years, ever since it, I think, came out a couple years ago, and I've heard great things about it. I don't read a lot of romance, or when I do, it's only a certain time of the year, like summer. I feel like I'm more in a romance vibe, but again, going with my intention to read more authors of color and just trying to read books that I have heard great things about and want to see what I think about. This checks the boxes for that, so I'm excited to read this. And I think this is one of those STEM romance books that have been all the rage. Our main character has Asperger's, so she is on the spectrum, and dating and all of that relationship stuff is not, it's not an easy thing to navigate. So I think she actually like hires a boyfriend. Oh, she hires an escort to help her just practice, you know, being a romance person. So I'm curious to just read this from my own lens, and also knowing the character is neurodivergent and on the spectrum, and just getting all that goodness. And the last book, which I've never heard of ever, it just was on the shelf in like the fantasy sci-fi section. The cover is beautiful, so I was immediately intrigued to pick it up. The Sisters of Winter Wood by Irina Rosner. We also have witches, we have wood in the cover. Immediate intrigue on my end. And I ended up getting it because it blends fantasy and fairy tales and also Jewish mythology, which I just think is a beautiful combination, and I definitely want to learn more and read more authors of Jewish heritage, and this, I think, will be a really interesting read. A gripping, powerful story of family, sisterhood, and two women trying to find their way in the world. In a remote village surrounded by vast forests, Liba and Leah have been raised on the honeyed scent of their mammy's babka and the low rumble of their tati's prayers. But when dark forces threaten their village, the sisters discover a family secret passed down through generations. Faced with a magical heritage they never knew existed, Libra and Leia realize the old fairy tales are true and could save them all. Very, very intrigued. This would definitely be a good fall read. I don't really know when I'm gonna read it. I think another thing I struggle with is that just dopamine hit when I get a new book, and it's like I want to read it immediately, but I have so many other books to read that it's just not going to happen, and then I lose interest in reading books, hence why I've stacked up a little bit of a physical TBR that I've yet to read. So I really want to like prioritize reading more physical TBR books this year. I have so many reading intentions. And I also forgot to mention that I've set a numerical reading goal. And I know numbers are just numbers, not everybody likes to set numbers. For me, I just like having that kind of direction of knowing I need to hit a certain amount of books while also giving myself grace. I decided I want to try and read 50 books this year, which is an increase from the past 2 years. In 2024, I wanted to read 40 books, and I read, I think, 46 books. The year before, my goal was 33 books because I wanted to read more slowly and intentionally with what I picked up, and I think I read closer to 40 that year. And then I think I tried reading 50 books a couple years ago and like barely hit it, because reading that many books in a year is difficult. But I think knowing this year that I want to read more audiobooks and more ebooks, and just stopping books that aren't interesting me, picking up another book that engages me if I'm kind of in a reading rut, I think going in with that strategy, I should be able to hit 50 books, maybe even hit more than that. We are shooting for the stars this year with our book goals, friends. So yay, here's my little used book haul that I did not foresee ever coming into this video, or today, or at this point in my life at all, but we're here for it. In conclusion, friends, I am currently still splitting my attention between these two books, and I've made it to page 126 in A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm going in between like reading it and listening to the audiobook. That's why I just need to listen to more audiobooks on the weekend when I'm doing chores and laundry and stuff. So that is partially how I've gotten this far. Thus far, I'm still gonna give my vampire book, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, another chance after I had my little vent to you guys earlier today about how it's not keeping me engaged and it's been a little bit boring. I've got to page 300 and it's definitely picking up more. I think now we see the relationship between the main character and the interest developing much more, and it's getting me a little bit more invested, so that's good news. And this book, how many pages? I have like 175 pages left, which is under 200. That is very doable. So we will see which one I finish first. Any takes? Any guesses? Any guesses? I hope you enjoyed this video, friends. Let me know what books you're currently reading, or what are some of your highly anticipated reads for 2025. I've already stacked up quite a TBR for the year. We're off to a great start, and let me know if you have any specific reading goals or reading intentions, in addition to how I have like a million different ones. So yeah, wishing you lots of love and light in these dark times, and wishing you guys a continued happy new year season in January. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.